Okay, so uncharacteristically, to me, I I I performed a little trick now. You know that generally I do not do it. I do not use tricks because it's beneath me. And why? But given the circumstances that you will in a minute you will know all about it. I think that I mean you can excuse me. So what was the nature of the trick? I don't know if you remember, but in the past I mentioned that. I mean, the Israeli people, they use me as a farm animal. They want the stuff, right? So that's why I can't be married. I can't have sex with any woman at all. I can't have girlfriends because they want me to just masturbate, and so they take the what's left. So for that reason, for example, they have also they perform all sorts of tricks, so I will not do it in the bathroom, like poisoning the soap and such things like that. And if I decide to abstain from masturbation for after a week or so, I mentioned that they have way to just force me to do it, and I didn't mention how it's done. So actually, the way that it's done is that when I'm like currently, you see that I lie now in the bed here in my mother's apartment. The bed, it's typical that the bed is adjacent to the wall, so they just increase the current inside the main electricity wire inside the wall near my head, and it's kind of torture to me. It makes me suffer, but it almost forces me to masturbate. It's extremely strong. I feel that I must do it, and they know that they know that it's like that. And this is a way to. I mean, of course, I'm only here since August, but in other apartment, of course, there were other walls, and it's not a new trick. So I will not abstain from masturbation, and of course, for this reason, as I said many times, I cannot have a wife, I cannot have a girlfriend, I cannot have any sex at all in a romantic relationship because they want the stuff. So I have to masturbate as much as possible, so they will take the stuff. For this reason, by the way, for example, in the Shoam apartment where I lived for 4 years, if like after like maybe a day or so I didn't throw away the trash where the toilet paper with the stuff is stored, I mean, the neighbors started to do all sorts of like psychological, behavioral, Pavlovian, I don't know, התניה, how do you say התניה, like conditioning to me, so I will throw away the garbage to the big garbage can of the building, and that's where they took it from. For a long time I didn't understand what's the purpose of this, of all these weird psychological conditioning, and I don't think it's ever happened to me. But for a while, I just understood that they wanted to throw away the trash, so I just, as a good neighbor, I just did it. But after some time, everything, the puzzle got clearer and clearer, and I began to understand that they just want the toilet paper. It's not the only reason; there were other reasons as well. As I said many times, I learned from the Israelis that this is what they want from me, and this is why I can't have a family, I can't have a wife, I can't have a girlfriend, I can't have sex at all with no one. So, the feeling of this almost compulsory feeling to masturbate that I have when they increase the current near my head is a really bad one. It's humiliating, but it's also very uncomfortable physically. It's a kind of torture, and of course, you can't sleep while it occurs, while it happens. So, but I haven't spoken about it in great detail until now. I just mentioned that I have ways. So now, in the previous video, which if I'm correct, was held in Hebrew. I switched back to Hebrew without minding. So anyway, never mind if it was in Hebrew or English. I mentioned, apropos, presumably without minding, that I'm very sensitive to alternative current. So I knew that they will. The good people in Israel that hear me will. What we will do? They will. And before that, I removed the cover of the front camera from my iPad. I used. Typically, I recorded using the iPad Mini, not using the phone, which is what I do almost always, because I wanted them to see that I actually lie in my bed. even though I don't know how many of them are actually able to see, because they are currently, it's the Makat Choshek, the plague of darkness, as you see here in on the wall. But let's speak about it in a minute. So I knew that, I mean, what they will, of course, they will increase. I mean, if now that they hear that I suffer from this, it's a great suffering to me. The alternative current near my head. They know that they have the button to press it, to press it, and it will cause me suffering. And immediately, I mean, after a couple of minutes, almost like exactly when I stopped the last recording, it started. So I knew it's going to happen, and I just I put the iPad aside. I think that now they don't have way to detect my presence besides if I'm using like iPad or iPhone with the camera that is not blocked, because it's part of the plague that they forced upon themselves. So I knew that what's going to happen. So I just went to take a long shower, and I just came back from the shower. And so what was the purpose of this little shenanigan, this little torture? I didn't want to subject myself to torture, but I wanted to subject part of the samples to torture, because I know that if you increase the current, and of course it's an alternative current, because it's coming from the grid. I mean, from the grid, and the grid is always alternative current. It means that there is near my head strong and rapid changes of magnetic field. So I placed beside my pillow both the sample that you already know, where we've seen the columns, the leg, the replications of the leg, and also the glass with the ring. And I thought, okay, I mean, it can't hurt. Let's see what happens when you subject those creatures to rapid changes in a magnetic field. And possibly, I mean, I guess something happens because something happens to me, but I don't know how to generalize from me to these nano or microscopic creatures. But I mean, it was a very immediate and effective way to subject the samples to very rapid and strong changes in magnetic field, something that I couldn't have done alone anyway. So now I will go to the microscope to see if something interesting happened, and I will report to you in a minute. Just one thing that I need to address is the plagues of Egypt. So yes, I mean, Vayamesh Choshech. I mentioned that. I don't know if someone noticed, but that we are currently at Makat Choshech, a plague of darkness. And yes, as we all know, the riders that are using the bicycle mechanism, which, by the way, until now I have no idea how it works at all. It's something that is it's very secretive, and it's another front that the intelligence agencies of Israel got the best of me and beat me, because they managed to spray enough disinformation so I won't have any actual clue or a path to understand how it actually works. But I do understand that you in a way you share your vision. I don't know if it's a technological feat or maybe psychological or telepathic. I don't know, but I mean, either way, it's a kind of technology. I mean, for certain, right? So you have the technology to share the vision, but I mean, it's only fitting that those who share vision with other species, which they actually enslave them, will now be subject to the plague of darkness and will not be able to watch at all. What's even more important than that is you know what comes after the plague of darkness, Makat Bechorot, which is the last one and the most horrible of all the plagues. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting very soon. I'm not sure why it's needed in order for the world to wake up and rescue me from the Nazi prison, but I mean, that's the way it is. So let's get back to science and see how the rapid changes in the magnetic field supplied by the generous Israeli intelligence affected the famous two samples, the two most famous samples that we have, the one with the columns, the replication of the leg, and the one with the golden ring.